I collected some questions that I want to ask you, but finally, after I wrote it all down, and then I met a girlfriend of mine. She's really good in English, so I asked her if she can do some correction with that. Then I had a long discussion with a friend of mine who is also a member of the Matrix Knowledge Group in Germany, and I met him in a bar where we just drank tea and talked about some topics, and he gave me already some answers I was looking for, and I know you already put a lot of videos online, especially one where Donna asks you the topics about suicide and to be or not to be. So
yes.
I know all that stuff, but somehow I'm trying to get my individual point out of it. So, and I don't know if I there are so many questions. You already gave the answers. I know the answers, and I don't know if I should repeat them or if I just talk free and tell you what I think right now, because today my feeling is much better than it was on Saturday when I wrote you the message.
Good.
And
yes, talk. Yeah, it's all right if we go over similar things, because you, like you say, you have to get your own place in it, you know, how you fit into those conversations. So yeah, let's just talk freely and we'll see where it goes.
Maybe we can start with something that Pamela, your wife, just posted, I think yesterday on Facebook. She posted a picture with some notes on it. 5 things to quit right now. Trying to please everyone, fearing change, living in the past, putting yourself down, and overthinking. And all of these points I'm doing, actually. I always try to please everyone. I'm fearing change, absolutely. I'm living so much in the past, comparing with others always, putting myself down somehow. I always think that the others are better, greater. For example, when I watch the interviews that people are doing with you, I always ask myself, they are so smart. How can they be so smart? Where do they get all the information, and why are they so high at their being level? And I'm overthinking everything, always thinking, and I have hard times to get higher on the being level. And yeah, and I have a big ego, as you maybe already noticed. And yeah, I'm really fearful, and I need to change somehow, because I don't think that I will do suicide. Maybe I'm already too far, and I'm maybe too smart for that step, because I know I have to come back and have to repeat the same problems, or to face the same issues. But on Saturday, for example, I felt really like if there would be a gun or a medicine that just would kill me straight away, I was really close to do that. And I don't know if that will come again, and I don't know if I'm that smart then at that moment not to do it. But there are some things in life that really can put me so hard down that I don't see any sense, and I'm lost the bigger picture, even if I know that I have a bigger picture. But yeah, I don't know. That's maybe first point to talk about.
That's a lot. That's actually a pretty impressive description of, the state of you. Most people who are depressed don't have any of those ideas about. You do have a bigger picture. Those things that Pamela wrote, those are very good things not to do. I didn't see that post, but from what you've read, that's exactly the stuff not to do. And someone who is really in deep trouble and depressed usually would look at that list and not see that any of it applied to them. The fact that you're aware of these things applying to you, you're aware of a bigger picture, you're aware that you're just going to have to work on these things, another time, and that committing suicide just puts it off, doesn't make it any better. You'll be in a similar kind of position later, that it's a matter of let's figure out a way and a process and some way for you to deal with these things and to feel better. Not put yourself down. Realize that you have talents and you have abilities, and you are, I mean, when we were there in Germany, I don't know of anybody that helped us more than you did. And it's not, it wasn't actually the help that was the biggest thing. It was your attitude about, is there anything I can do? Anything else I can do to help? That was a great attitude, a very, about other attitude. So you underestimate yourself, and you have a lot going on. You have a lot of understanding. Now you just need somehow to be able to apply that to your everyday life. So when I look at you, sometimes, I have a lot of people who get in touch with me because they're contemplating suicide, but most of them have none of the understanding that you have, none of the sense of where you need to go and the things that maybe you're doing wrong. So I think you're further along than most in that way. Yeah, hopefully you will be smart enough to, when you get into that very depth of that depression, to realize that that's not a good idea for you. You are, it's not like you don't know which way is up. Many depressed people just don't know which way is up. They don't see any solution at all. But you see where you need to go, even if you don't see a solution of how to get there. And that's kind of step one. And you've already gotten to step one. So now we need to work with step two, which is, how do you let go of these things that you're doing to not do them anymore? Putting the self down, the overthinking, all of those things that you read. How do you stop doing those? I guess is the key that you need. What seems to be the inhibition, the things that sticks, the thing that just never seems to happen when you try to get beyond where you are now? What's the block?
I would say, okay, what's the block? The block is maybe that I have a feeling of that I saw everything before, and that there is no happiness around me, that or I even ask myself the question, is happiness an aim that I need to follow? Maybe happiness is also just an illusion and just a value that people talk about that's important. But there's the block is that I don't find the sense in life. Just the only sense that is really senseful for me is that what you're talked about so often, sharing love, evolve towards love and service to others. But sometimes it's really hard to do when, it feels, the block is maybe that I feel something or someone or some energy or some curse is putting me down, is to having control. It's like a chemical running over my whole body that makes me unmovable to go the next step. That's maybe the block, I don't know.
As you talk, I'm trying to send some energy your way, trying to wrap you up in some positive energy, positive thinking. But you do understand about love and about service to others and so on. And when I saw you, you were good at it as far as the service to others. you were right there, and did a lot for us as we were trying to get our equipment in and get set up, and directions and all the things that we needed. You did not hesitate to provide service.
But that's quite natural, because I mean, it's more that I could. In that moment, it was more about to give back a little bit of that what you gave to me, or of that what the MBT team gave to me for the last, I don't know, 6 years in my life. The MBT team, and especially you changed my whole view of life, of thinking. I was always searching for the answers, and when I met you, when I saw the first interviews of you, I had the feeling that this could be the right direction. Not really the answer, but the right direction. And that was just something that I needed to do to give somehow back of that energy that you gave me. It was like nothing. I would do 1,000 times more if I just could. So that, yeah, one other topic, or what brings me really down, or the reason for that feeling on Saturday was my relationship to my girlfriend, and we're having a quite special deal of relationship. So maybe I explain it in some short words to give you a little overview. I was born as a Muslim. I was never took that religion on me, but my family was somehow a Muslim family. I'm genetically from Syria and Damascus, and so I know all the values, and it's really deeply inside of me to. They programmed me to see it somehow the Islamic way, but I was born in Germany, so I have the character, or however, of a German guy, really open-minded, really intellectual, and I have a lot of good friends around me who are absolutely conscious and intellectual, and I try to learn a lot about life, about relationship, and about sexuality. And my girlfriend, she is an artist. She is totally open-minded, sometimes too open-minded. She's always 100% honest. What she says is absolutely that what she thinks and feels. I have no doubt about that, what she's saying, and she never made me doubt her. So, and I know her now since over 4 or 5 years, and we have a relationship since 2.5 years. And we decided when we started that relationship to have an open relationship. And when we started that relationship, she told me that a little bit before, she already told me that she is a sex worker. So she's you can book her and to have sex with her. And in the first time, or in the first place, it was really hard to take it, to know that the girl I love is having sex with others, even, or especially when you're coming from a Muslimic background. It's like a no-go for a Muslim. I mean, I'm not a Muslim, but I was programmed to see the world as a Muslim. And yeah, but we solved it somehow, some good. I was getting more and more open, and we made it our way. But now the last month, it's getting quite complicated, because she has feeling inside of that open relationship to fall in love, to live her life. She wants some happening. She's about 15 years younger than me, and Yeah, she needs some adventure in her life, and she told me that she really loves me deeply from her heart, but she's not sure if she can stand a relationship with me. That she's not sure if she will get old with me, and she fall in love by a boy, but that's no problem because she already told me that it's just falling in love, as she don't know him really, but it's now a feeling that she wants to live. And I felt really depressed about that, but then I trusted her, and I knew that it's just a feeling. Maybe it will go away, maybe not, but I will be open for that. But that feeling that she gives me with saying that she's not sure that we will get old together, that is putting me absolutely down, because I believe so much into that relationship. She's so great, and I'm not sure if I can find another girl like her. I mean, this is ego-based saying this, but I have such a good feeling because she's so honest, and I really love her deeply from my heart. But I don't know which direction should we go, which one is the right one. Maybe it's okay to say, oh, let's quit it on this point, or maybe it's better to say, let's fight and try to go on. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Some comments to that is, sounds like she's a really great person. Sounds like she's a really good girlfriend in the sense that she's honest and open and straightforward with you. That's about 99% of the problems in relationships is, you know, an inability to communicate honestly. So that's really good. You probably just have to wait and see how that works out. You know, it has to work out however it works out. But you have to be okay in yourself. You have to be okay by yourself. You have to be okay in your own mind without, you know, even if there is no relationship, even if that relationship goes away, you know, that's just the beginning of something new. When changes come like that, then that opens up new possibilities. You will be meeting other people. You will find other connections. You may not find a girl just like her, but you may find one that's very satisfying just the same. And maybe it'll be better than her. Maybe it won't quite be as good as her, but you will have other opportunities and other relationships. That's not the end of everything. That's just a new beginning if that ends. But it may not end. She's being honest with you, and I would trust her in as well. As you tell me that she says, well, she's not so sure about that, this new new relationship she's thinking about, you know, that's just still tentative in her mind. Well, let that play out however it does. In an open relationship, you have to have the idea that that person is, you know, is there because they want to be there, and you're there because you want to be there. And until that changes, just let it ride. If it does change, then you go on. You'll meet other people. You will find other situations. There's other connections that are, you know, waiting when that one goes. It may take a little time to find them, but you'll be all right. You know, you need to get in a frame of mind where you see yourself as worthy, and you see yourself as competent, and you know you have a very, I don't know what the word is, low self-esteem maybe. You don't have the sense of positiveness of you that you really deserve to have, that you should have. You're articulate, you're bright, you're a tall, strong, good-looking man. You've got a lot of things that are positive in your life, and you need to give those a chance to make connections, whether it's within this relationship or within a different relationship. But getting to that point where you're okay with yourself where you don't feel inadequate. Now, I don't know, when people feel inadequate, it's kind of, you can say, well, don't feel inadequate, but that doesn't help. Just to tell people don't feel inadequate, and it usually doesn't even help to point out all the ways in which they are adequate, in which they do have good things to offer other people. Just to be a person that has, that is neat. They can fit in. You say you have friends, well, these friends I'm sure care about you. You have people yet you feel inadequate, unworthy. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe that comes from your very early childhood. Maybe that comes out of your Muslim background, the kind of the indoctrination that you got there, or whatever, that you are not, worthy as an individual. But that's not the case. You are here to learn, to grow up, to be, and that's just dealing with things as they come. And this relationship, whether it stays and continues or gets better, or whether it goes away, that's just another thing to take into your, kind of what you've learned from it. You spent some years now with this woman, and from her, you've learned things. You've felt things. You've been connected, and that's good. And you can take that and kind of move that forward, rather than thinking that the end of that relationship is the end of opportunity. It's not. You've learned from that relationship. You've grown through that relationship. You've learned how to give. You've learned how to let go of ego in order to, please her, rather than necessarily just get what you want. So you've learned things. It's been a growing relationship. And your next relationship with a woman will be also a growing relationship. And the one after that, perhaps, will also be a growing relationship, until you happen to find a situation that just works for you for a long time, and you do grow old with someone. But meanwhile, you're still out there connected. An open relationship really, enables you to connect with others as well. You may not have the desire to do that because you really like this girl. It seems like a nice girl. I hope it works. I hope it works out, that she finds that she's better off spending her time with you than anybody else. But as you get depressed, it pushes people away. Depression makes you not fun to be with. Depression makes you difficult to give in a situation, because the depression kind of limits you from doing that. So the depression, being depressed, changes your environment and your interactions with other people to reinforce the depression. That's the problem with depression. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, in the sense that the more depressed you get, the more difficult it is to have good relationships with other people. So you have to start at a point in your life where you can just say, I am me, and that is good. This is what I have to work with, and that is good. I will start here, wherever it is, and I will learn. I will grow. I will become love. I will care for people. I will be helpful. I will, it'll be as much as I can about other. And you just start from someplace and say, okay, wherever it is I am, whatever I've got, however adequate or inadequate or whatever else I feel, this is me. That's being authentic. And then you just accept that and say, well, that's okay. There's where I am. From here on, there's nowhere to go but up. We're going to have relationships. I'm going to grow. I'm going to meet people. I have friends. I have books to read and videos to watch and conversations to have and learning to grow. And I'll just start wherever I am. And the things that come to me, the things that come into my life, the things that I have to decide upon, how I'm going to interact, who I'm going to be with, the conversations, the connections, that I will just deal with those in a learning and a growing way, and I will become a better person. And as the days go by, I will become a better person by being aware and being caring. And as you are caring around people, and it's not about you, but it's about them, then that will bring more people to you. And it will cement the relationships you already have much more securely. But you have to be willing to accept whatever happens with the idea that it's a challenge. It's not don't fear the change. Accept the change and accept it as a challenge to deal with that positively, not negatively, not fearfully, and not negatively, but deal with it positively, and then go on to connect other places. And if you just don't know that many people and you feel like you don't have many connections, then go places where you can connect with people. Go join, groups where you will meet other people. And as you interact with them positively and make it about them, they will be drawn to you. And then you can make connections. So it's just, you have to, I guess, get authentic. And you seem to have done that very well. You opened up this discussion with a very good, demonstration that you are authentic. You do understand where you are. You do understand what's important. You do understand it's about love and caring. And so you just have to, you are an authentic individual in that sense that knows where he's going and knows who you are. You're just not real happy with who you are. And that's the problem. You're not very happy with you. And that's a fear that you need to let go of. It's not necessarily easy to do, but you need to know that you are valuable. You do bring a lot in places where you go and interact. So you have that potential. All the potential's there. All you have to do is actualize that potential. It's not like you're dead-ended and run out of potential and there's just nowhere to go. You have a lot of potential. You're caring. You think deep thoughts. You have depth to character. And all those things are valuable to other people. This group of friends that you interact with, and some of them, I guess, were there at the meeting we had in Germany. You stay positive, stay upbeat, and they will be attracted to you. When you're depressed, everybody kind of walks the other way. They're not attracted to you. They're kind of pushed away from you because depressed people don't interact very well. They seem very unhappy, and you kind of get the idea there's not much you can do there, so people tend to walk away. But that doesn't mean that's you. You've got a lot of potential. You just have to actualize it. You've already done step one, which is to understand where you are, to become authentic, accept yourself as you are, however that is, and from there on, grow, get better. The thing I think that's pulling you down more than anything is just the very bad feeling, the bad attitude you have towards yourself. There's too much negativity. You think too little of yourself. You undervalue your talents and your abilities and your likability, your lovability. You have a lot of potential and you don't see it. You don't feel it. You think you have little potential and very little to offer. And that's just not true. That's not, that's not factual. That's just your fear talking. Sometimes when people come from very strict religious backgrounds, they have this sense of, and it doesn't matter what the religion is, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, if it's a very strict set of ideas and attitudes that they're required to have, they end up feeling very small and very insignificant because they're told that, that they have to obey the rules and they have to be like this and be like that. And if they're not that way, then they start feeling bad about themselves. They start feeling guilty for not being the way that they're supposed to be. You know, you brought up in a very religious household. Many kids come out of religious households feeling inadequate, feeling unworthy, because they judge themselves at a very young age against what's expected of them. You know, that they always do good and be right and, you know, care and learn all the material they're supposed to learn and so on. And they just don't feel like that, and they don't do it. So then they feel bad about themselves. And it could be that's where it comes from, because that's kind of common when I talk with people, that they come from very strict backgrounds. It doesn't have to be religious, could be any kind of a strict background that has a very strict ideology, and they come out of that not feeling good about themselves because they weren't able to do all those things that that strict rule set required. They didn't feel that that was their way. Well, that's natural enough. People don't like to be boxed in by constraints and by rules and the way things have to be. And people who are brighter than that and who think for themselves tend to break out of that. But they often break out of it with guilt, break out of it with a low sense of adequacy, because in their mind they kind of weren't up to it and failed. So I'm not sure where your sense of negativity about yourself comes from, but it's, I can see that you have a lot going for you, just what I can see. So finding that, I guess just you have to accept what you are. You are what you are. And in your mind, that's not perfect and has a lot of work that needs to be done. But as you do that work, you're going to change. You're going to grow up. You're going to move in a very positive direction. As you get more positive, people will be drawn to you. They're drawn to positive people. They're drawn to upbeat people. They're drawn to people who are helpful to them. And when you feel good about yourself, it's easy to do that. It's easy to be helpful. It's easy to connect. It's probably been like a rock you've been carrying around, a heavy weight you've had to bear for a long, long time. This sense of inadequacy, this sense of not measuring up and not being worthy. It's just no facts to support it. It's just a belief you have. And getting rid of that belief is going to be probably your main challenge. Let that belief go. Find out where that belief came from. Someone found you unworthy. Maybe your parents, because you didn't follow their religion or follow their rules very well. I don't know. But somewhere in your life, you've had a situation that's made you feel guilty, made you feel inadequate, that you're not such a great person. And because you feel that you're not such a great person, and that brings you down, makes you more negative about yourself, that pushes people away. So you just have to say, well, whoever I am, whatever I'm like, however likable, lovable, and adequate I am who I am. And from now forward, I'm going to grow toward the light. I'm going to grow more positively. I'm going to let that fear go. I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to have relationship with people. And you'll see that as you get more and more positive, those relationships will start to grow and be more and more valuable. And if this lady decides to go on another route, well, it was an open relationship, and that's okay. That was honest and straightforward, and she's being honest with you, and that's okay. That's a good woman who is honest like that. But it may go away, and if it does, there will be another. There will be others, and the more positive you can be, the more others there will be, the more opportunities you'll have. So I see this one kind of central fear of not feeling good about who you are at a very deep level, and that's kind of poisoning the well. So yes, you've got a lot of choices ahead of you yet. You've got a lot of experience. You're not all that old. You've got many years ahead of you in which you can connect and do things and end up with this happiness. Happiness isn't something that you make. It's a byproduct. Happiness just happens. It's a byproduct of caring, of being connected with others, of being able to give to others to help them do whatever it is they need to do. It's a thing that just happens to you as you get rid of fear. When you get rid of the fear, you just get happier. It's not like you have to go try to be happy. If you try to be happy, it generally doesn't work. If you try to let go of fear, and as you succeed in doing that, you just become happier. So am I hitting it near the center, this thing about fear and a negative opinion about yourself? That's the key thing, that it's like a 50-pound rock you've been carrying around in your gut that's been holding you down and holding your relationships down, and it's kind of the main problem. Does that ring a bell with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and where does it come from? You're going to need to look at that and say, where does that come from? You'll probably find it comes from when you were 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 10 years old. That's the way it is for most people. It doesn't come from, the fact that your girlfriend wants to go someplace else. You had it long before then. You see, it doesn't come from those things that are kind of pushing you down right now. That's not the source. The source goes deeper than that. The source goes back, and probably when you were younger, you were much better able to ignore it. This 50-pound rock you're carrying around in your gut, you were able to just push it down, push it under the rug and say, well, I don't want to deal with that now, and go on. And when you're, in your teen years and early 20s, you can push that kind of stuff out of the way and go on anyway. But as you get older, you have to deal with those things. You can only push junk under the rug so many times before that rug really gets a big stinky lump under it, and you're forced to deal with it. And that's what's happening to you now. As you're getting older, you're being forced to deal with those things. And whether you find the thing that caused you to feel that way, and it's almost always a thing that you in your mind, even in a 5-year-old's mind, where you felt you weren't doing it right, you weren't accepted. The family didn't give you the kind of feedback that said, "Oh, you're great, you're doing fine. We love you. You're a super person." You didn't get that feedback, and sometimes that's just because the parents are, they're not emotive. They don't relate to the children very well. They're very intellectual. They're not very feeling, or they're not very giving, or they haven't grown up very much themselves, and they're attached to their rules or their religion or their economic strata or whatever. It could be 100 reasons. But children are often not given a sense of being worthy. And that sense of unworthiness then just grows and grows under that rug, because the people stuff it away for a long time, and eventually you got to pay the piper. That stuff comes out, and it's just, you can't get rid of it. And it's just there. It seems to be you, but it's not. If you sat down and made a whole list of things that define you, it'd be a pretty good list. You'd do very well. It's, just compared to other people, you have a lot of potential, but you're just carrying around this unworthiness thing that is dragging you down. And then, of course, every time something happens, like in an open relationship, the girlfriend finds somebody else that attracts her, then suddenly, that's just another sign of how unworthy I am. It's just verification of my unworthiness, and that makes you feel even worse about yourself. You see? So that's a problem. You need to look at that relationship and say, well, that's what an open relationship's about. It can change. It's open. And we stay together as long as that is what we both want. And we separate when one of us doesn't want it anymore. That's an open relationship. And that's okay. My relationships with females have all been open relationships. I think that's a better way to have a relationship. But you have to have courage, and you have to have a sense of self that's positive, to do that, to be able to just pick it up and go on if you have to, by yourself, on your own. But a relationship that is not open is one that's not free. And love grows in freedom. I think open relationships are are a good way to go. But it requires strength and caring of both people that are in it. And at least you have a girl who's honest. And if there's anything an open relationship needs, it's honesty. People have to really say just what's going on and how they feel. That's a very important part of it. And you got that. But all my relationships have been open relationships, because you don't want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be there. If they've got something else that suits them better, then you love them. You want them to have that thing that suits them better. If they find another situation that they think's better, then you want them to have that better thing because you care about them. Go have that better thing. And if it doesn't work out, I may still be around and available, or I may not. I may have moved on too and found something, that was better. And that's just life. We deal with this stuff as it comes. Life is uncertain. You have to let it be uncertain. Accept that it's uncertain. You don't have to have certainty that the girlfriend's going to be there. The needing certainty makes you take the freedom out of the relationship, and without the freedom, it isn't unconditional. Love is unconditional. If it's not unconditional, it's not love. And you'll probably always love this woman, and she'll probably always love you, no matter whether you drift apart or stay together. Love is like that. Once given, it's given. But that doesn't mean you can't accept that, deal with it, and move on in a positive way. You have lots of opportunities out there, lots of things that you can do, lots of potential to develop. So it's just a matter of getting rid of that fear of inadequacy that you've been dragging around probably since a very young age, and just let that go. So that's not functional. It just doesn't work for me. I have to let that go. I'm going to grab hold of my life and take charge of it. Do what's right. Be loved. Be caring. Interact with people. Go places where people are. Connect with them. And because I'm loving and caring, people will be attracted to me. People will like me because they like loving, caring, positive people. They don't like negative people. They don't like people who are always complaining. They don't like people who don't like themselves. But they do like positive people. You have lots of potential. Just the fact that you could come here and sign on and talk about it, that you're not just hanging out in your room, kind of at the bottom of a, dark, metaphorical pit, that you're able to reach out. You want to connect. You want to do something else. You've got something strong in you that wants to turn a corner and go some other direction that's profitable, that's happy, that's where you're growing. And with that intent, just keep that intent there and it will happen. It's just that fear just keeps dragging you back. It's an old fear, no doubt. Something you've been carrying around for a long time, and it's time to let it go. It's time to just accept it and say, okay, if I'm inadequate, that's the way I am, but, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to be inadequate, but positive about it. We'll just see. I'll interact with people, and we'll just see what happens. I won't require anything of them in particular. I'll just be and interact, and we'll see what happens. And what will happen is that they will, as much as you retain a sense of positiveness and caring, they're going to like you. And you will realize that all of that fear about being inadequate is just smoke. It's just garbage left over from a long ago that still captured your feelings. So you have a way out. You have a connection. It's forward, whatever that is, with or without the girl. You've got a life and you have lots of options and opportunities. You should take them and work on them the idea of ending that life and then having to repeat similar sort of thing again, get rid of those same fears, because those fears are yours now. You know, they belong to you. And if you don't get rid of them, you'll have to deal with them some other time. Just let them go. Find the source and let it go. And if that requires you to make a connection with your family, write them a long letter. Write them a letter saying, you know, just what you think and who you are, and tell them whatever it is you feel like telling them. You don't have to mail it. You don't have to ever give it to them if that would create a problem for them. But it would be good for you to write it. So you write it all down, because when you write things, it helps it gets it out. And just tell them who you are and why you are and so on. And at the end of the letter, tell them that you love them anyway, just because they're your family. And you wish them well, but you're going to go off on your own and have a good life. So if it has to do with your parents and that, you know, goes all the way back to that, then write a long letter. Say everything you feel. Don't hold anything back. And mail it only if you feel like that would be helpful to them. Otherwise, just writing it is important. It'll be good to get that sort of thing out. Write a letter to ex-girlfriends. Write a letter to ex-roommates, whoever it was that helped you, you know, have this inadequacy feeling. You know, write it all down. Tell them, get it off your mind, because that will help you let go of it. As long as you keep it bottled up, it's harder to let go of. So get it out. And a good way to get it out is in writing, because that writing doesn't really hurt anybody else's feelings unless you show it to them. So you can get it all out yourself without really hurting anybody else's feelings, and you get the same benefit. Whether you send it to them really isn't the point. It's not about them. You see, it's about you letting go of a fear that's old and dysfunctional, that you've never needed, never deserved, but you've carried around anyway, because from a viewpoint of a, you know, 8-year-old or 10-year-old or 15-year-old or whatever it was, you know, you feel failed, like you didn't do it, you were inadequate, you weren't the son they wanted, you know, whatever, and got to just accept that was them, not you. That was all about them. So let it go and start. You know, it's like tomorrow's the first, you know, well, I guess it's today. Today's the first day of the rest of your life. You know, that kind of an attitude. So that's what you need to do. And I think you can do that, but it isn't going to be easy. You know, it sounds easy for me to tell you these things, and you can nod your head like intellectually you can follow that all right. But when it gets down to doing it, wrestling a fear, well, take courage. You're going to have the courage to take that fear and just let it go. And when you feel it bubbling up, you feel kind of unworthy and, oh, woe is me, and I just don't have what it takes, and people just don't like me, and I have trouble with relationships, and, you know, my girlfriends never last very long, and before I chase them away, and you have all that negative stuff, you catch yourself doing that, just stop and say, bullshit. Today is the first day of the rest of my life, and I'm going forward. And I'm going forward positively and with caring. I'm growing up. I'm going to become love, and that's what it's all about. I'm going to do it. So that sort of thing maybe will help. Just keep that in mind, that it's not about what happens here. It's about how we deal with what happens here. So, does that help?
That helps a lot. I think I feel it, but yeah, the rest of my life will show it. But you gave me a good advice, and I will listen to it afterwards, think sometimes again. My mother died when I was 12, and my father died when I was about 40 years old, 4 years ago. So I will write them a letter, even if they're no more there.
Yes.
And yeah, I think I have the big feeling that the biggest rock that I'm not sharing, that I have on my back came from the moment when my mother died when I was 12. I had some psychotherapists working on that, but every time when it came to the point that my mother died when I was a little kid, I stopped the psychotherapy always, and I had about 4 when I was young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that this is the point, and this is maybe where I have to work on it.
Yes.
But maybe now for real, not just thinking about it. I don't know how to do it. I have to reflect it. I have to think about it. I have to write her.
You know, it's very typical. It happens more often than not that when a parent dies, or even sometimes when parents get divorced, but particularly when there's a death, the children, if they're older than, like 3 or 4, old enough to kind of really feel what's going on, they tend to feel guilty. They tend to feel like part of it was their fault. Like they were responsible. If they'd just been better, if they'd just done more things, if they'd paid more attention, if they'd been, made their bed more often and cleaned up their mess, if they'd just been a better kid, this awful thing wouldn't have happened. They feel that way. They take on guilt and feel bad about themselves because of some event that is totally outside of their control that they couldn't have helped in any way. But they feel that way. That's just the nature of a child, because a child doesn't have a big picture. They feel responsible for all sorts of things that they're not responsible for. They just don't have any bigger picture than that. So that's normal. Even like I say, even if it's not a death, even if it's a divorce, the kids feel responsible for the divorce, which is silly. Kids feeling responsible for a parent's, death is the same way. There was a lot of things that contributed to that, but a child's contribution would be a very small one. So, yeah, you need to just visit that. It's probably the rock you're carrying around, and let go of it as far as guilt and a feeling of inadequacy based on the fact that you found yourself wanting. You weren't good enough at that moment. And your mom's death, was not caused because you weren't good enough. That obviously is not the way it goes. So anyway, that would be a point to work on, particularly if you got a block there whenever the psychiatrist got to that point, you couldn't go forward. You need to go forward and go past that. Let it go. My, what an awful thing to have to carry around. And
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad I could be of some help to you, some service. You certainly were a big help to us, so I'm glad to be able to repay some of that.
I'm so thankful. And all the other questions I will have in the future, I will ask in fireside chat, I guess. But that was a personal thing, and it was important for me to ask you this in that 2-person round. I have to reflect it if I will release it, but I'm quite open and I have nothing to fear. So maybe that could help also other people in the same or similar situation.
Yeah. Well, you can write your girlfriend a letter too. When you get writing your letters to all those people that are, that have had some major impact on your life, they all don't have to be letters to people who cause difficulty in your life. They can be people who cause joy in your life as well. Just to all the people that were kind of core and central to your life. But I would say to your mother would be a very important one, and probably to your father. The letter to the mother is probably going to be key, since that's probably the block that's been giving you this problem. But you can write one to your girlfriend too. And again, whether you show it to her or not is not the point. But take your time on those letters. Spend some days on them. Don't just jot something off and think you're done. Spend some time. Go back and reread it and do it again, because one thing will lead to another, lead to another. And hopefully A lot of it will unravel. The feelings will unravel. You may bang your fist a little bit and have a good cry in the process. That's okay. Let it come out. Process it. And after you process it, let it go.
Thank you. Hopefully I see you in the next fireside chat. Last time I was in Oman and the connection was so horrible, I couldn't ask you anything. So I hope the next will be better.
Yes, I hope so.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Okay. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Be well. I'll send you a little more of that positive energy.
That
Keep you
feels great.
smiling. Good.
I love you so much, Tom. You know that.
Yes, I do. I feel that. And I share that affection. Love you too, Foad. You got too much on the ball, guy, to waste it feeling bad about yourself. You got a lot of potential there. Let it shine.
I will. I have the strong feeling it will come out.
Good. Good. We'll see you later then.